Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing one build for every champion part 2. In the last video, we went through the champions from Androxus up to Maeve, and now we're just going to finish the rest of them. So from Makoa up through Zhin, and like I said in the last video, all of these builds will be both viable and fun, but not all of them will necessarily be meta. So I suppose play them and ranked at your own risk, but it's really meant to be a jumping off point for new and returning players to discover different build archetypes and ways of playing the game and crafting your own sort of more personalized builds from there. So let's talk about the most consistent way to play Makoa, and that is with half shell. So this is a half shell focused build with both Carapace and Barrier Reef at level 5. Barrier Reef will provide 1 second of cooldown reduction for the shell shield for every 1000 damage absorbed. And with Carapace, this basically gives an extra second to the cooldown reduction if the shield is totally destroyed. So this combination of cards is very good. Then we have Salvage at level 1. This is an excellent filler for Makoa because it regenerates 1 ammo after activating Dredge Anchor, so you will always have a shot ready to go if you hook somebody. Determination as well, excellent level 1 filler, gives increased healing received from other players while at or below 50% health, and like I discussed in the last video, healing received buffs still counter-cauterize. So this, only at level 1, will only counter-cauterize by 6%, so I'll end up having 84% cauterize in late game. But, you know, if you wanted to run this at a more powerful level, you could do that if you so choose, and it is a very, very good card. But I have Strong Arm as my level 3 card in here, which gives almost 2 seconds of cooldown reduction on the Dredge Anchor, and that's just because his hook is so gosh darn good. It's the main reason why you play Makoa, and so having cooldown reduction on it is, of course, very nice. And yeah, with no Chronos here, we will basically put the shield down. I think right in the middle here we'll hit both of them. Yeah, there we go. And you see once it gets destroyed, I have a 9-second cooldown on the shield down from 14 seconds. So we get 5 seconds of cooldown reduction already. And you normally want to start with Chronos with this build, but just to show the effect that Guardian has on it, I'm going to buy Guardian here, and you'll see the improved cooldown reduction. So wait for the shield to be destroyed again. There we go, and we get it down to an 8-second cooldown. So Guardian will help, but as you can see, it only provides 1 additional second of cooldown reduction, whereas Chronos, well, that'll provide you, let's see, let's just put the shield down, and then let me show you the raw cooldown reduction. From 14 seconds, I'm going to estimate about 3 seconds off the cooldown, roughly. 4 seconds, actually. It's down to a 10-second cooldown. So yeah, Chronos is just better. On half shell, you want to prioritize Chronos, but I suppose if you want to go the extra mile with Guardian after you have Chronos, you can. But the main point is, Chronos plus this combination of cards will get you a lot of uptime on the half shell, and it's a very consistent way to play Makoa. As you can see here, I have a lot of different build varieties for Moldamba that use, well, 1 or 2 different cards in each and every one, depending on what I want for the match. And so, it's important to understand how to mix and match on Damba and understand what you want in any particular matchup. But the build I find myself going most often is this one, which provides me movement speed for myself with Snake Pit at level 5, and damage reduction for myself, 20% for 4 seconds after hitting an ally with Mending Spirits. This card effectively has permanent uptime, meaning you pretty much have 20% DR the entire match. It is a fantastic card. I also have many gourds at level 3, and then Incorporeal and Sustenance for even more self-sustain. And as you can see, it's a very, very selfish build, but we're moving really quickly. And we have now 20% damage reduction now that I've healed Fernando, so taking a little bit less damage from Cassie. I got my gourd back online just a little bit faster, down from a 10-second cooldown to an 8-second cooldown. And in general, we're just doing things with Damba really smoothly, because one of the most important things as a support is making sure you can stay alive, especially when people come and try and flank you. You want to have the brawn to be able to fight back or get yourself to a safer position, and that's what this build is about. But alternatively, there are a bunch of other ways you can mix and match this. So, for example, we have this build which drops the damage reduction card in favor of movement speed for my allies if I just want everyone to go really fast. I don't normally use it, though, because it lacks survivability. There's this build, which drops the damage reduction card in favor of the health card. The health card provides a smaller boost to your overall HP than the damage reduction card does, but if you're playing damage Damba, I find this is very nice because it allows you to play separate from your team, and you don't always have to right-click your teammates to get the damage bonus, but it is a little bit more niche. Then there's also this one, which this is the other one I go most of the time, which drops my selfish movement speed card in favor of the movement speed card at level 5, which increases the movement speed of allies hit by 25%, so that's another very excellent card. The point is, as you can see by now, You just have to mix and match your cards, and these builds are all meant for Spirits Chosen. You could run either this build or this build with the damage talent if you want, but I would stay away from builds that have more supportive capabilities in them, like Swift Spirits with a damage playstyle, because that just doesn't really make sense for what you're trying to do. Moji's builds these days usually rely on an excellent combination of cards between Glimmer and Harmonious. This allows her to get into a very nice cycle where she's able to constantly spam her abilities and get her allies some form of hit points, whether it's healing or a shield. So Harmonious regenerates sparkle and ammo for affected allies while you're channeling your magic shield, which allows you to fully regenerate your ammo from 0 over the duration of the magic shield. Glimmer will reduce magic shield's cooldown whenever you detonate a max stack magic mark. So you enter a nice cycle where you can basically heal Fernando, boom, just run out of all your sparkle like this, and then you can pop this, and you see I'm pretty much back up to a full sparkle by the time the shield is done, and then detonate those magic marks, and I'm really close to another shield. And with Chronos locked in, this actually works even better. So I drain all my resources, and then shield, boom, and then detonate those magic marks again. And would you look at that, I have another shield. And we have an infinite cycle as long as I'm hitting fully stacked magic marks, right? That's the one requirement. You can't just detonate like this, because you will not get the effect of Glimmer, so bear that in mind. But then the rest of the build is focused around supporting the team with Nature's Blessing, which provides a 20% movement speed boost to allies healed for 3 seconds after being hit by Sparkle. So yeah, pop this on him. For the next 3 seconds, he's moving faster. Obviously, I can't demonstrate that in the shooting range, but it's a very nice card, and it obviously has a great synergy with Spit Shine, which also increases movement speed of allies hit for 2 seconds by 20% when they're hit by the Spit. So, do both of these at the same time. I don't think it's quite 40% because of diminishing returns, but regardless, you're giving them at least 30% movement speed, definitely more. So it's a very, very nice synergy. Alternatively, if you wanted extra survivability, you can pop down Harmonious to level 3, remove the speed card, and put Fluffy in at level 5, which is the other thing I do if I feel like I'm going to be shot at a little bit more. But as long as you have the Glimmer Harmonious combo in your build, you should be doing pretty good. I want to show you a build for Nyx that'll often get you top damage in the lobby, and will also give you a heck of a lot of ultimate charge while you're at it. And that is my aura-based build, which the name of the loadout is a bit of a pun. This video isn't sponsored or anything, it's just a reference. If you get the reference, then you get it. If not, don't worry about it. But yeah, I am using the cards Abyssal Authority and Center of Combat, which both drastically improve your Royal Presence. Abyssal Authority grants it double the radius, allowing you to apply the poison to a lot more people. And Center of Combat will increase the damage of Royal Presence by 10%. Now, 10% doesn't sound like a lot, right? I mean, that seems like a very, very small increase. Trigger Scent out here. Trigger Scent increases your weapon damage by 18%, so like, I don't know, is 10% worth it? Well, yeah, it is, because it's actually applied in a different way to the way you might originally think. Because the way this works is it increases the max health damage of a Royal Presence. By default, Royal Presence does 5% of a champion's max health as damage. So if I go ahead and swap into a build that doesn't have these cards in it, and then apply the poison, we're doing 4 damage to Ying, 4 damage to Viktor, 8 damage to Fernando per tick, and by the time the poison is over, you see that 5% of their health is missing. This increases the damage of your poison from 5% to 15%. That's what the 10% means. So effectively, you're tripling the damage of the poison. With the build, we now have 12 damage per tick on Ying, 24 damage per tick on Fernando. Look at how much more damage that just did. Oh my gosh, it's bleeding into the 3rd health bar? Oh my gosh, that is so much more damage. So, not even 1 full bar to almost 3 bars is what we just got as a difference by running this card versus not running this card. So Center of Combat is insanely valuable. That's a lot of damage to be applying passively to the enemies over the match. And while it does ramp up very slowly, you know, takes a while for that damage to apply, it still ends up being a nice boost to your damage output, especially when you're pairing it with your punches and your rift slashes and all of that. So that's all really, really nice, and that builds you a heck of a lot more ultimate charge. So let me show you the difference. Let me just ult real quick. Bam! And now let me switch back into this build and show you how much damage I get. 3 people affected by poison. Look at how much my ultimate charge goes up. I mean, it's pretty slow. Okay, we're up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Okay, we got about 10% ultimate charge out of that, because we started at about 1. Now if I swap into my new build right here with the Royal Presence cards, okay, so we're starting at, I'm going to wait for it to tick up to 14. Okay, started at 14. You see how it's ramping up so much faster? And, okay, we've already passed 10%. And, okay, we went from 14 to 35. So 21% ultimate charge from that. That's a major increase, and it means you can spam your ults a lot more, which is nice because her ultimate provides her a huge layer of survivability. Remember that she can cleanse the purple health from Royal Presence with her ults. So, I get a bunch of purple health on the left of my screen, and then I press E, and I completely cleanse that. And she also gets damage reduction on top of that during her ults. And you can even get a lucky stun if you happen to have people next to you. So, it's a very, very nice thing to have this extra ultimate charge, and if you have a bunch of tanks on the enemy team, especially tanks with high health pools like Raum, Fernando, Leviathan, Makoa, something like that, this will be extremely good. So Octavia is another one of those champions who I try to think about as little as possible, so the build is going to be on the more basic side, kind of similar to my Caspian and Lex builds from the last video. So let me just show it to you. It's very, very simple indeed, but it's at the very least pretty effective, and, you know, if you just like the running and gunning aspect of a shooter character like this, then this will feel very comfortable indeed. So we have Interdiction at level 5 to increase max ammo by 10, which is really nice. It means you have a lot less downtime and you get to spend more time shooting, especially if you use the unscoped shots. This card allows you to just burst down Fernando, just like that. Of course, you very rarely will run into a situation where you're just unloading like that, but, you know, if you need to do it, it's there, and in general, it just feels nice to not have to reload as much. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Then we also have new boots to reduce the movement speed penalty of designated sites, so that way we're not as much of a sitting duck. Does actually make quite a big difference. You are very slow when you're scoped in normally with Octavia, and yeah, this almost completely removes that penalty. Then we have Determined Defense for extra health, because that's always good on pretty much any champion. And then the fillers are just, you know, you can run whatever you want, but I've got less time to bring up the designated sites and a little bit of jump strength on Commander's Leap. So, yeah, very simple build, nothing more to really say about it. It's comfortable for just generally walking around, shooting enemies, which is like 90% of what you're doing with Octavia anyways. Omen is all about doing that big, juicy damage. Oh, look at how fast that kill was. Oh, he just gets eviscerated. So, I have created a build that, well, it's very annoying to play against, but if you play as it, you're sure to do a crazy amount of damage. We have more at level 5 for a 20% damage bonus to Aphotic Reaver, and at level 5, we get the smallest penalty to the ammo. You see, if you run this at level 1, we have 2 ammo. That's not very good. So yeah, we want to run that at level 5. And we also have Ominous Protection for increased max health. And then the filler cards, we have Everlasting Vision for a little bit more range on Gravity Vice, which I find to be quite nice. And there's also Coming End and Shaded Speed. But Coming End is the important one because it allows you to regenerate ammo after casting Deadly Domain, and it means you end up getting a lot more ammo uptime than you otherwise would have. Put that down. And yeah, we're able to fire out a few extra shots, and we're able to kill both of them before I have to reload. So yeah, that's really nice. You can see I killed Fernando there with 2 bullets left. It's generally very nice to have, and this build will work a little better with Binary Void in terms of the ammo regeneration from that card, but if you prefer more consistent damage, especially at longer ranges, then Umbral Lance will also be a good choice for you. We can come back here, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty decent damage, and also the ammo penalty doesn't hurt as much because of that slower fire rate. So it has that more, I guess, precise style of gameplay. Next up for Pip, let's talk about the sort of classic Mega Potion build, although you can also use this very comfortably with Combat Medic if you want to churn out as many heals as possible. So, here's what we have in the build to reduce the cooldown of the potion and make sure we're hitting as many people as possible all the frickin' time. We have Medicinal Excellence at level 5. Please never let me catch you using a Mega Potion build that does not have this card in it at level 5. Increasing the radius of Healing Potion will drastically improve your chances of hitting as many people as possible with your potion, which is huge because your potion has a very long cooldown, and so you want to maximize how much value you get out of it when you do use the ability. This is so important. Then we also have Reload and Acrobat's Trick at level 4. Also, mandatory cards with Mega Potion. There's not much build diversity you can achieve when using the talent Mega Potion, because uptime of your potion is so important, all your loadout points have to be invested into it. So we have Reload at level 4, which reduces the cooldown of healing potion for each ally it hits. This does exclude Pip himself, so sadly, yeah, if I just throw this at Fernando and me, it only procs for Fernando, but it is still very good, and if you hit 2 or more allies, you basically get a potion back for free when you're using Chronos as well. And then, yeah, Acrobat's Trick reduces the cooldown of Healing Potion by almost half a second after hitting an enemy with your weapon. So that's why I was shooting Cassie there. I can throw the potion at Fernando, and then shoot, 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 and I have another potion, boom, and then shoot. Oh, she's dead. Okay, well, keep shooting, and you see how it helps the uptime of the potion. Boom, there we go. Got Reload to proc again, kill you, boom, there we go, and the cycle just repeats, and obviously you want to be rushing Chronos as well with Mega Potion. You just want to have all the uptime possible. Now, this can work with a Combat Medic build as well, but with Combat Medic, the uptime of your potion is a little bit less important, because obviously you're able to heal with your main weapon shots. So, if you did want to play that, I know I'm supposed to only be showcasing one build in this video, but I'm kind of doing a bad job of that, but you could swap out Acrobat's Trick for a different card, like Pep in the Step. It can be a little bit more forgiving in that department, so you can more comfortably experiment with different cards like these. Now, for Raum, it doesn't get much more classic than a build like this. We have Void Lord, Shattered Essence, and Harbinger, 3 of his most popular cards for a very good reason. Void Lord reduces damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds after activating Soul Harvest, which is a fantastic damage reduction card, especially when you have so much health to apply it to. It really gives you that extra boost of survivability that you need in the heat of combat. We also have Shattered Essence for a massive boost to your healing output. This healing stacks on top of the healing you get from your regular soul regeneration, so this is very, very good, and it obviously pairs very well with Rejuvenate, which we'll talk about in a sec. Harbinger also reduces the cooldown of Juggernaut by 5 whole seconds after activating Soul Harvest, which is amazing. So you can run in, meow, bonk, 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 meow, bonk, yeah, 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 and then press this, boom, recover a third of the cooldown just with the press of a button. And with Chronos at level 3, this combo feels amazing, because you can run and knock into everybody, yeah, you know the drill. And then pop this, half of the cooldown is recovered, and then in just a few seconds, you can get back to running once again. It feels so amazing to have that combo working at its full potential. It is really, really nice. And yeah, this healing card as well really stacks well with Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate is pretty much a meta buy on Raum right now, ever since they reworked it. And I made a whole video talking about that in depth, so if you want to see some really good gameplay of that, to see a better explanation, then go watch that. But the long and short of it, this increases all your healing received from your soul armor. After, of course, you've already built up your soul armor. So if I just shoot the Cassies right now, I'm generating 200 armor per soul I gather. So, yeah, Rejuve's not taking into effect, but as soon as I hit the max threshold, boom. You see how the plus signs in the center of my screen just got larger? The only reason I had plus signs in the first place was because of my healing card. I was only seeing the value from Shattered Essence, but now I'm getting healing from both my souls and my Shattered Essence. And if I allow her to diminish some of my max health here, or some of my regular health, now you can see Rejuvenate take into effect. So the reason it works like that is because first, your souls have to build up your max health, and then, after your max health has been finalized, after you're at the final value here of 8,650, then all of the souls will basically just be converted into regular healing. So for Ray, I'm just going to show you a very utility-focused build that gives your teammates a whole bunch of goodies. So, with these bounces, I am giving Fernando ultimate charge, damage reduction, and obviously healing, and also a bit of reload speed, although Fernando's a bad champion to showcase that because he doesn't exactly reload. But yeah, this is because of the combination of Ico Force's Refreshing Break and Lepori Prayer. All of these give teammates incredible buffs, and they also will apply to Rey herself. I'll see if I can get Lepori Prayer to work here. Boom, boom. Yeah, you see how fast that reload was after I just got the bounce? So, yeah, if a teammate happens to reload after you bounce them, they will reload very fast. It just feels very nice, helps keep their damage online. And yeah, the ultimate charge is really the super powerful buff here in this build. Because obviously if you can generate your team's ults faster, especially if they're really good, ults like Fernando's, Yeah, this is so valuable. I don't think I really need to say anything more. Ico Forces also gives damage reduction to each player which Chain Heal bounces to, and the effect stacks, so you can get it up to 8, potentially like 12% damage reduction. If you're in a really tight grouping like that and bounces between the same people, you can get some pretty nice damage reduction, and overall, just making your team take less damage is a great thing. And then for uptime on the Chain Heal, we have Magic in the Blood, which reduces the cooldown of your next Chain Heal by half a second after hitting an enemy with Sigil, and the effect stacks, so I can shoot Cassie a bunch, pop that, and then the next cooldown is only a few seconds, and then we get back to doing that. And as you can see, I didn't shoot that many times that time, so it was a 4-second cooldown. But yeah, it's just good for uptime, and also Future Generations is a very nice filler, because again, it'll help with uptime. Every 2,000 damage you take just passively throughout the match, your next Chain Heal will not go on cooldowns, so we'll see if I can demonstrate that against Cassie here too. Pop that, take some damage, and then I believe if I just throw this out, the next one should, have no cooldown, and we can just do back-to-back Chain Heals like that, so really good uptime. Now, Ruckus is pretty much a big flank. He's a tank, but with some incredible mobility with the talent Aerial Assault, and the build I'm going to show you is a build that really emphasizes the mobility and the killing potential of this character. So we have Fuel Reserves at level 5 to increase the travel distance of Advance by 35%, which is phenomenal. Look at how different the travel distance is with a build that has this card versus without it. So without it, I'll just use a Flux Generator build, which, okay, I'll use this Sumo's build. And the dash just goes forward like that, and yeah, really small. But then if we swap to Aerial Assault with this build, you can see just how much farther we go. Look at that. That is a nice, sizable increase, especially if you jump before the dash, so you don't have friction with the ground. You're able to just move so much farther, and that also applies to the vertical distance as well. With a wall jump, I can't quite make it up there in one jump, but a lot of places, that 35% will be the difference between making it up or not making it up. Wow, I hit my head on something. Okay, there we go. See that time? Yeah, I would not be able to make it up there without the Fuel Reserves card, so very, very useful. Then we also have Proximity for damage reduction after activating Advance. It's not a very potent card, it's only 12%. Obviously, a lot of other DR cards scale much higher, but the powerful thing about it is its consistency. It lasts for 3 seconds after activating Advance, and with Aerial Assault, you have 3 charges of Advance. So, if you're just playing like this, you pretty much always have damage reduction, which is very, very nice. Ooh, I even had a bit of like a 2-second cooldown on that dash there, and I still was able to refresh my DR there and pretty much had permanent DR. So, yeah, it's a very helpful card through and through, as long as your healer is healing you, of course, because obviously there's no way to get your health back up with this build. But then, yeah, we have Crystal Capacitor as well, which reduces the cooldown of Missile Launcher by almost 3 seconds, really helping with your damage uptime. I don't think I need to explain that one too much. And then, yeah, Dampener and Refraction are our filler cards here, a little bit of extra health, and also 1 second off the cooldown of Emitter. Not bad. This card scales really well. So, yeah, that's a very nice level 1 filler. And this will generally leave you with a very comfortable and very potent damage, sort of flanky Ruckus playstyle. So I am going to absolutely hate myself for the build I'm about to showcase, because I absolutely can't stand it, but I also can't deny that it's the meta, and people also enjoy playing it, and I'm going to see a boost in the amount of people playing it after publishing this video, because that's what tends to happen when I make videos about builds, but ugh, it's the worst to play against. Let's just get this over with. Let me show you what I'm talking about. With this build, you can do this! Yeah, you can send people to space. So this is a window of opportunity build, which knocks enemies straight up and causes them to take 20% more damage from Saati for 1.5 seconds, so pretty much the entire time they're airborne. And it's paired with this build, which has Step Off at level 5. This increases the distance enemies are knocked back from Blast Back by 50%. It's one of her only cards that actually does something, and the thing it does is very annoying, because the reason why this is so strong is the knock-up effect really messes with enemies' momentum and movement. You can't really strafe out of it while you're in the air, and it'll just interrupt so many different things that you're trying to do, and if you don't have a good movement ability to get out of it, then you're literally a sitting duck, and you're 5 miles into the sky, so it's not like you have cover up there, and it allows the enemies to have a really easy time shooting at you. I don't know what's up with the shooting range. I don't know why Fernando was the only one who went up with that one, but then Ying and Viktor were the only ones who went up with the next one. Yeah, why does that not hit Fernando? Okay, the shooting range continues to be a strange beast. But yeah, it's a very powerful effect, and it's certainly fun to watch enemies go to space, but it's not fun to be the one in space. Just know that if you are going against this build, please buy Sentinel. It'll counter it completely. But yeah, the rest of the build is just focused on general survivability and utility. Designer armor for max health, very nice. Aggressive tip, I always like to have this at a reasonably low level in the build, just to help with using Ricochet a little bit in case there are some enemies behind a wall that I want to finish off. Then I also have Grab and Go for a little bit of ammo regeneration after hitting an enemy with Blast Back. That's just so if I am low on ammo like I am now, I can blast someone back and have enough ammo to hit a few shots into them. And then also generally, level 1 filler, just a little bit more max ammo. And yeah, it's a reliable build. It's the meta build for Saati, but I still hate it, even though it's fun to play. Alright, now let's show another meta build for Seris, although one that I have much fewer issues with. And this build might look a little strange to some of my lower elo viewers, but I can assure you, this is a very, very strong build for Seris. So, this is my standard Veil build. It's what I play pretty much all the time when I play Seris. Of course, I rarely play Seris, but you know, when I do, I play this build. It has Sorceress at level 5 for 35% increased ultimate charge rate. That is an insane thing for a card to do. That is absolutely bonkers. Morale boost gives you 30%, so this is stronger than Morale boost 3, and it's just a card. Huh? So yeah, that's pretty crazy. We also have Veil. This is pretty much a mandatory card in all Seris builds. This shouldn't look out of place, because yeah, it just helps you so much when you're reactively trying to get out of a situation. Then we have Umbral Gate. This card will increase your movement speed while an enemy is marked with a Soul Orb stack, which is very easy to do. You should have this card working pretty much the entire match. Just do that. It even works during Shadow Travel, as long as someone is hit with that mark. So, yeah, it's a very, very nice movement speed card. The other cards just aren't as consistent, or they don't scale as well. Bane is just trash. You should never use this card, period. Dark Whisper, I understand the argument for using this because you don't have to mark someone with a Soul Orb stack, and it helps turn your movement ability into an even better movement ability. It has the same scaling as Umbral Gate. And if you wanted to be a bit safer, I suppose you could use it, but I'm not really about that safe, never aggressive Seris playstyle. And then we have Spirit Leech and Blood Pact as our level 1 fillers, which are two very good fillers. They're not so great with Forsake, which is her new talent, because these cards are dependent on how long you channel Restore Soul. So that's a bit tough, but there aren't too many other better filler cards. I suppose you could run Revenant or Ebon Dynamo or something like that. But yeah, for the other talents, especially Soul Collector, which I still think is her best talent, these cards are very nice. They allow you to just shoot, blah, 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 and then heal Fernando, and look at how much ammo I get back. Just from a level 1 filler, by the way. That's not any higher than level 1. And yeah, if you play it right, you almost never have to reload, which is really fantastic. And the healing also comes in very clutch. Now, the reason I said some lower elo viewers of mine might be a little bit confused is because A, yeah, we're using Umbral Gate instead of Dark Whisper. B, where the heck is Fade to Black? Well, I mean, it's a fine card, and I guess if you want to, again, lean into that more passive playstyle with Seris, you could run it. But I don't like passive Serises. Passive Serises tend to not do much for the match. They spend less time shooting, less time playing aggressive. This build allows you to do a lot more for your team than just sit back and heal. So that's why I don't have that. Plus, I find that she generally has enough uptime on her Shadow Travel anyways, and also, yeah, I mean, I think it's good to not rely on it all the frickin' time and actually learn how to fight back against enemies, stunning them, doing that sort of thing. But then also, another reason why lower elo players might be confused is we're not using Soulforge. This card, behind me, very awkward. Here, let me put it over here. This card increases the range from which the secondary healing of Restore Soul can target allies. So the AoE portion of Restore Soul, it increases the range of that. It's pretty much a trap. Your teammates are either already close enough together that Restore Soul would hit them anyways, or they're so far apart that even with this card, you won't be able to heal them. There's a very small in-between where this card will make the difference between being able to hit someone with a secondary heal and not being able to hit them. And that sort of in-between area is not really big enough or important enough to justify using the card in place of frickin' Sorceress, which again, 35% increase ultimate charge rate. Pwah, that's insane. And yeah, would you rather have the ability to give 1,000 healing to slightly more people in a few extra circumstances, or have significantly more uptime on one of the best things about Seris, which is the ability to group multiple enemies up, stun them, and just wreck them like that? I know which one I'm picking. So don't fall for Soulforge. Use Sorceress. Sorceress is one of her best cards, period. And yeah, this build is phenomenal. Alright, let's get back to some more consistent and stereotypical builds. We have a Sand Trap build here, although you could theoretically use it with any talent, because all of his talents are pretty similar in terms of how you build for them. It just has Crippling Arrow Reset and some health. It's really, really straightforward. So Swagger level 5, Quicksand level 5, reduce the cooldown of Crippling Arrow. This is very good for your Sand Trap. Also can be good for Desert Silence if you choose to play that, and it certainly doesn't hurt if you're playing Recurve. Then we have Shimmer for a cooldown reset on Withdraw if you drop to or below 30% health, and because you have Swagger, it increases your opportunity to get below 30% health and live, which is very nice. I also have Wind Wall, which reduces the movement speed of any enemy hit by 10% for 2 seconds. It's small, but the nice thing is it stacks. So you can actually get 20 or 30% slow debuff. You see? Oh, I actually didn't realize. It actually updates the visual effect on Fernando. Let me get another rapid shot back real quick. You can see multiple different slow arrows on him. Look at this. You see that arrow? That's the stacking effect in action, so you don't actually need this card to be super high level to still get crazy value out of it. It's very nice. And then yeah, Bullseye is the level 1 filler just for a little bit of cooldown reduction when you get an elimination to keep the ball rolling. Boom, 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 boom. There we go, and I already have a Cripple Arrow back, so yeah, it's just really nice, really classic, and it'll be very reliable for you in pretty much any match you face. Alright, let's show why Skye is so frickin' strong right now. This is the Smoke and Dagger build. Throw down the bomb, heal the Fernando, and look at how fast I'm moving. Oh my goodness gracious, what on earth is that? And if Fernando was moving, he'd be moving just as fast as me. Like, what? How is this possible? Well, it's through the power of Dissipate, one of the most broken cards in the entire game. Remember when I showcased the Grok build in the last video, how I said that Spirit's Grace is one of the best cards in the game because it provides your teammates 30% movement speed for 1 second when they're in your totems, and it constantly refreshes while you're in the totems. Dissipate is even stronger than that. 40% movement speed for 2 seconds after entering Smoke Screen. And again, it applies to all your teammates when you use the talent Smoke and Dagger. So, plop this down, and then leave the Smoke Screen, and I still have that movement speed buff for 2 seconds after exiting. Boom. I'm shooting just to make sure that I cleanse my stealth, because my stealth also provides me a bonus, but you see how that lasts for a long time even after I leave the smoke screen? And while you're in the smoke screen in the first place, look at the dodge speed. Look at how fast we're zooming. This is absurd, quite frankly. So being able to apply that to an off-tank like Makoa, Khan, Azan, Ruckus, any of the super strong off-tanks, it's just phenomenal. It's simply phenomenal. And then we're pairing that with other cards that synergize really well with the general playstyle. We have Healing Vapors at level 4 to heal myself and allies within the smoke screen for 500 healing over 2 seconds, or in other words, 250 healing per second, which stacks with Smoke and Dagger's 100 healing per second. So it's a very nice boost. It ends up being about 350 healing per second, which is more than a Genos mark. Yeah, that's how bad Genos is, but that's also how good Skye is. And then also we have Confound, which helps with our smoke screen uptime, reduces the cooldown for each enemy hit by poison bolts. So I'm just going to throw one here and then throw the other one away so you can see the cooldown buff. Look at that. It basically evaporates half the cooldown as long as I hit all 3 of the poison bolts. So that is really good for the uptime of the smoke screen, especially if you buy Chronos on top of that. And then we have Decrepify and Spectre. Decrepify I just find is a decent filler. It helps a little bit with the ammo uptime, but then also Spectre, is a card that you're not really using for Skye. Instead, you're more so using it for champions that have low ammo pools, because this generates 4 ammo after entering the smoke screen. It does have a cooldown of 4 seconds, so you have to spend 4 seconds outside of the smoke screen before it can apply again, but this is a very powerful card when you're playing with someone like AndrewChicken, Buck, Makoa, Bomb King, anyone who has a low ammo pool, right? Each of them all have 6 ammo by default. So, yeah, if you can generate 2/3 of their clip back for a level 1 filler and keep them shooting without needing to reload, that's awesome. That's just the cherry on top of this delicious cake. I mean, it's phenomenal. So, yeah, Skye is able to apply all these buffs to her team with smoke and daggers, and also apply them to herself, of course, while still being able to do crazy amounts of damage. Yeah, you're, I guess, technically losing out on a little bit of damage because you're not playing Debilitate. But it still ends up doing a lot of damage, and the fact that you're able to synergize with your off-tank and your other damage champions so well makes this an extremely potent playstyle, and it's the reason why she has such a high win rate at high elo. Okay, now y'all know me. I'm not much of a sniper player, and when I do play snipers, I play Kinessa and not Strix. So, I suppose take the build with a slight grain of salt. Again, it's going to be another one of those super simple builds that's also, at the very least, I know it's effective. You might have Strix mains out there with better builds, but this one will certainly be solid, at least. So this is a build that focuses on, again, generally just being good at sniping and running and gunning and doing Strix things. So we have Grizzled for increased maximum health. Again, that's always a reliable card to use pretty much no matter which champion you're playing. Then we also have Guerrilla Tactics and Tactical Retreat, both of which apply to your stealth. Tactical Retreat turns stealth into a mighty fine movement ability. Look at that, it's like I got a Skye Smoke Bomb for 2 seconds. That's pretty good. And then, the other card will give us our stealth back if we get a kill. So, you see how I'm draining my stealth, shoot Vic, and then shoot him again, and boom, my stealth is back, and I'm able to basically combo all this and have really good stealth uptime. And in theory, you could pair this build with any talent you want, but I usually play Nocturnal when I play Strix, but there's no reason you couldn't use it with Crack Shot or Unauthorized Use. It depends on your preference, I guess. It's a very generalized build. Our filler cards just revolve around ammo, because Strix generally does tend to struggle on ammo, so having a little bit extra ammo to work with is nice. And the card that gives you ammo back when you switch weapons is nice, because, you know, you can dump your pistol out and then get a little bit of extra sniper ammo back. And I can expend a few shots on my pistol and then switch back to the sniper, and my pistol is just going to be gradually reloading. Oh, you can't really see it here. Let me move out of the way. You see how it's constantly reloading? So, it's nice. It's a little bit of passive regen. It helps out in some situations. Alright, now let's show you how to make Talus extremely annoying. This is another build that you could theoretically pair with any talent, but usually your best bet is to play Inner Strength because it's just such a good talent. And this build is very simple. We have a whole bunch of survivability and also Evanescent as our most important card here because it's just super nice. 40% movement speed most of the time is a really good thing. And I say most of the time because you put the portal down and look at how much time you have to move 40% faster. That is really good uptime. I mean, we're zipping around. That means we're dodging shots, we're chasing enemies, making space, and then teleport back. And okay, we have 13 seconds of downtime, but, you know, it's about 50% uptime throughout the match, and, you know, when you have your Rune of Travel active, you generally want to play aggressive anyways, and this card helps so much for playing aggressive. I genuinely don't know how you can play Talus without this card, because it just feels that good. Then we have a bunch of survivability. We have Guts for damage reduction while below 40% health, Spirited for maximum health, Perseverance for a little bit of lifesteal while below 40% health, 20% is pretty decent for level 2, so that's why I have it in there, and then Transient for cooldown reduction on Rune of Travel. And it's a very simple build, survivability, mobility, and not much else, and it gets the job done very consistently. Terminus. Let me get some charges up here and show you the power of this build. Ooh, I got a charge from slashing at her. That's great. Give me the last charge. All right, boom. All right. So check this out. We have a permanent 40% movement speed buff right now. As long as I don't discharge my stacks, I will always be moving 40% faster. Remember how strong Talus' card is? Remember how strong Skye's card is? Well, Terminus has it permanently for himself. Very nice. Also, I have 20% damage reduction. I can't really show it to you. I guess I could go over to the Cassies and take damage, but you're just going to have to take my word for it. And that's because of the build. This is a very classic build. Speed Terminus, probably the most fun way to play him. It Follows gives you 10% movement speed per charge of Calamity Charge that you have. So, each of those little purple dots in the center of the screen, that gives me 10% movement speed each for a cumulative movement speed buff of 40%. And then Strength of Stone gives 20% damage reduction based on the number of Calamity Blast charges you have stored. Now, I have no idea why these two are worded differently. But yeah, basically what this means is when you have 4 charges, you have 20% damage reduction. And if you have less than that, then you have less than that. It works the same way as It Follows, but it has different wording. I don't get why they did that, but yeah, it's very powerful to have a 20% permanent damage buff. It's basically like a Zaan's Ire, but actually even stronger. You just have to build it up first, and building it up can take a bit more time. Then, as our failure cards, we have It Watches, which generates Power Siphon charge for each enemy hit with Massacre Axe, which is really nice, because Power Siphon is a pretty strong ability. Duh! So yeah, slash at Ying, slash at Vic, and you see how I'm building it back, just a chunk of it with each swing. Very nice card to have in this build. Normally, Abomination is a more powerful card for reset, but that forces you to shoot out your Calamity Blasts, and you don't want to shoot your Calamity Blasts when you're using Strength of Stone and It Follows, so we're forced to use It Watches instead. And then we also have We Can Rebuild Him for increased healing received, to counter Cauterize just a little bit, and then Forsaken, which generates 10% of a Calamity Blast charge for each enemy hit with Massacre Axe. This is kind of a failsafe. If the enemies are not shooting your Power Siphon that often, then this card will help you build those Calamity Blasts even when you're not siphoning. And that's how I was able to build up my 3rd Power Siphon over there when I was swinging at Cassie. I had most of a Power Siphon charged up, and I just needed that little 10% to push me over the edge, and that's where Forsaken comes in. It helps get that online a little bit quicker. You don't want to run it too much higher, because once you're at max stacks, you have no more need for this card, so it's pretty much just a level 1 filler. And yeah, this build is really, really, really fun. And the talent you can pair it with is either Undying or Crush. And you don't want to play it with Decimation, because Decimation forces you to shoot out Calamity Blasts. You don't want to shoot the Calamity Blasts, so don't play this talent, but you can play either Crush or Undying. Undying is generally meta, but Crush can also be good if you don't have a lot of hard CC on your team, because that extra stun can come in handy and really catch the enemies off guard. So I can just, BAM! Stun that Ying, interrupt her abilities, and slash away. Here's another generic build. Can you tell I'm just running through generic builds for champions I don't play that much, and that a lot of the champions I don't play that much happen to be at the back half of the alphabet? So this is a build that gives you a lot of ultimate charge and general survivability. Hone Senses generates 3% ultimate charge every second while combat trance is active. Test of Strength gives healing while combat trance is active, pretty much Genos Mark while you're using combat trance. And then Charisma increases your max health by 200. And then we have some filler cards that just generally help with survivability and utility. And yeah, just use my ult real quick. I'm gonna slash around and just expend all of it, and then I'll show you. Ah, crap, I got it back! No! I ran into the spawn region here, and it gave me my ult. That's so annoying. It's so helpful until you don't want it, and then it's very not helpful. Okay, there we go. So pop this. Slash away at Fernando, and you see how much ult charge we're generating. Very nice. And yeah, in general, this is also a very tanky build for Tiberius, as far as builds go. Torvald, one of the strongest tanks in the game in the right situation, because of his very unique set of abilities. This build I have allows him to be, well, kind of selfish, which is weird because normally he's a tank that, you know, spends a lot of time pocketing allies, and this build certainly excels at that. But when it's not focused on pocketing, it's focused on keeping Torvald alive and allowing him to play aggressive. So this build has Glyph of Freedom and Life Giver. This is a very important combination. Even though Life Giver is only at level 1, it plays a very important role in this build. And that's because, normally, when you apply a shield to a teammate, it just gives them a shield. There's no healing aspect involved. And because there's no healing involved, it means that they aren't actually able to generate assists for you. You will not get an elimination, normally with the shield, if an ally you protect gets a kill. So, what Life Giver does at level 1 is it gives them a very tiny heal. Insignificant, almost completely irrelevant heal. But, because you technically healed them, if I give this Fernando protection and then he gets a kill, I get an assist. And then that assist not only gives Torvald extra credits, but it also gives him 40% cooldown reduction on all of his abilities with Glyph of Freedom. So it's a very important combination to have with Torvald, and if you're not running this with Torvald, then you're kind of just throwing. I'm not going to lie. It's that good. So really important, do not skip this level 1 filler. Most of the time you can swap them out, but this one, you have to have it. Then we have Glyph of Health, which increases your max health. Duh. And then Eldritch Speed, another one of the best movement speed cards in the game. Increase your movement speed by 40% during recharge and for 3 seconds after it ends. It basically turns recharge into a movement ability, but one that can't be crippled. So, pop recharge, and zip behind the corner, or chase someone down, or whatever. It's really nice. It's 4 seconds of movement speed in total, and it feels so good to run. And then my other level 1 filler, this is one you can just throw away. It's Rune Torrent, which generates ammo while you're using Nullify. The reason I like it is because I can shoot, then use Nullify and generate a little bit of ammo back to finish the target if I need to. And yeah, this build is very strong. You might notice I'm not using a lot of the pocketing cards, and the reason I'm not doing that is because it got nerfed, a lot of them. So like, for example, the speed card. This card scales so poorly now. If I just pop in Wind Dancer, at level 4, I don't even get 20% movement speed anymore, so I just don't really think it's worth it to use that. And yeah, Time Shaper is a little bit better. I do have this alternate version of the build. If you're playing with someone like Buck, or, you know, Bomb King, the champions I kind of ran over earlier with Skye, those champions, you know, will really benefit from Time Shaper, even though it isn't as strong as it used to be. 4 ammo is still pretty good. It does come at the cost of your health, though, so you notice I have less health in this build. But yeah, it allows Torvald to be very strong, obviously, and you can play it with any talent you want. Usually, though, I either play Thanks Grandpa if I'm focused on pocketing someone, or if I want to take matters into my own hands, I will play Direct Current for the double range on Nullify, which comes in very handy for securing kills. Next up, we have Tyra, and I'm going to show you the meta build of the season. It seems like she always has one of her talents be meta with each season, and each season that talent is a little bit different. Last season it was Hunting Party, until they nerfed it to only have 1 mark. Now, it's Mercy Kill, and the reason for that is because it has a very powerful synergy with one of her cards. So this talent gives you 3 charges of Nade Launcher, and then you can pair it with a build that looks like this. This has In the Fray at level 5, which grants 20% damage reduction for 3 seconds after using Nade Launcher. You don't even need to hit the enemy to get the damage reduction. And if I just go into third person here, you can see the uptime. So, throw a grenade, shoot out the Ying, boom, throw another grenade. I can just keep spamming grenades with Mercy Kill because I have so many charges, and every time I do, I get that damage reduction. But you'll notice I'm also getting a lot of cooldown reduction on these grenades. And that's because of the second portion of the build, which is Primal Might. Reduce your active cooldowns by 40% after getting an elimination. So, let me go back into first person here, and let me just shoot out all my grenades, and then blast away at Ying. Got a charge back. That's great. Oh, look at that. I have my second charge back. Oh, look at that. I have my third charge back. Wow. That is some pretty monstrous cooldown reduction. And, alright, I got my grenade. Kill that Fernando. There we go. Get some more cooldown reduction. Kill that Ying. Get some more cooldown reduction. It's very potent cooldown reduction for Tyra. Stronger than the normal grenade launcher cooldown card, which is Bandolier, which I do still have at level 1 just as a filler, just for an even further boost. And it's quite easy to get eliminations with Tyra because you can just throw out a mark, and then if I have a random Androxus or anybody who comes in and kills that Ying, because she's marked by Tyra, Tyra gets an assist, because Tyra provided a reveal, and that reveal helped Androxus get the kill. So, your Hunter's Mark provides a very useful form of getting consistent procs of Primal Might, apart from your already incredible damage where, you know, Tyra can just consistently get kills naturally, because she's just a good damage champion. So, yeah, it's a really powerful combo. And then to finish the build off, I have Survivalist for even more max health. Tyra already has the highest base health out of any damage champion, and this increases it to 2600, which is incredible. And then you can grab Veteran. And look at that. I have 3,000 hit points on this character with a layer of 20% damage reduction. That's pretty neat. And also, you can go even further and run armor plating if you want. You can go crazy with Tyra and turn her into a mini tank. A juggernaut of sorts in the damage class. And so yeah, nothing much else to say about the build. Very powerful combo and the meta way to play Tyra right now. Sevan. Ugh. Stinky. He can do this, and that's yicky. So this is my build called I Hate 7 because I hate 7. And I hate 7 because of the things in this build. This is his maximum mobility playstyle. You have Terror at level 5 to make Grappling Hook, an ability that breaks the speed limit of the game, sends him flying across the map. It's insane if you know how to use it well. Then we have the Knight and Latch and Fire, 2 cards which will reduce the cooldown of Explosive Dodge and reduce the cooldown of Grappling Hook after using the opposite ability. So if I use Grappling Hook, I reset the cooldown of Explosive Dodge, use Explosive Dodge, reset the cooldown of Grappling Hook, use Grappling Hook, and yeah, it's basically just an infinite cycle, and it works a lot better with Chronos, but even without Chronos, it's still pretty decent uptime. And yeah, that's pretty much the build. We also have max health and a little bit of AoE on the bombs, but the main point is it's just a lot of mobility. And I know there are other builds for 7 that place more of an emphasis on the health card, and those are probably more viable. But if you want to really pester the enemy team and feel like Spider-Man flying around and actually have fun, then yeah, this build will do that, you know? If you're gonna go through with playing 7, at least go all the way out in terms of being an annoying pest. Alright, now let's talk about my classic main build for Vatu. This is a build I crafted quite a long time ago, and it's a build that has stood the test of time as being all around very consistent and powerful for this champion. It generally has a focus purely on just survivability. That's pretty much it. So, let's check it out. I have damage reduction after activating Shadow Bombs, damage reduction after activating Ambush. And this applies to each ambush in the chain, so you can refresh this pretty consistently. Between these 2 cards, you have a metric crap ton of damage reduction. Then I also have Contemplation for self-healing to help Vatu stay relatively independent from his team. And it's also a pretty powerful card at that, so you get a lot of self-sustain from this, which allows you to heal back up after you take some hits with your damage reduction cards. Then I have Shattered Worlds for a little bit of cooldown reduction on Shadow Bombs, and Shadow's Perch at level 2, which I find to be a really nice filler card. That extra 20% may not seem like a lot, but it goes a long way in terms of making Ambush feel really good to use. Now, you can use this build, technically, with any talent. It was designed with enveloping shadows in mind all those years ago, and it will obviously do excellent with this talent. It'll also do pretty good with Omnipresence, because Omnipresence gives you a little bit of extra mobility, and also an extra charge of Ambush, so you can have more uptime on that damage reduction card. And you can kind of just bop around like this, and you don't really feel like you're lacking that much mobility when you play this talent. However, with Unerring, which is his meta talent, his most popular talent right now, you will find this build to be lacking a little bit of movement, and so the popular solution people have come up with is to swap out one of these cards, I believe usually it's Gathering Shadow, and replace it with Night Watcher, which reduces the cooldown of dash after hitting at least one enemy with Shadow Bombs, and because Unerring gives you that pretty much guaranteed, you will be able to make up for the lack of mobility, and so you can do that if you want, but this build has never let me down, and I'm an Omnipresence player anyways, so what the heck do I care? I already have enough mobility. And yeah, it feels really good to play. Very strong, very tanky for Vatu. There are 3 ways to play Viktor. You can be an annoying beginner noob, with cardio running from fights and healing up and just spending pretty much half the match in hustle. That's cringe. You can be a sweat lord, and you can spend the entire match in iron sights, nailing headshots on people with burst mode. That's also cringe. I'm gonna show you how to play Bomb King. Oh yeah. Not necessarily the most meta playstyle for Viktor, but I find it to be the most fun. And also, it's not as sweaty or as much of a try-hard playstyle as burst mode, so it has that going for it too, I suppose. Basically, you throw a grenade, and then you throw a grenade, and then, yeah, you can run around a little bit if you want. You can still shoot, obviously, in between, and you will have another grenade. And then you throw the grenade, and then you throw the grenade, and you do a lot of damage in the process. Very fun. So this is a shrapnel build, of course, which increases the radius of frag grenade's explosion, allowing you to more reliably deal damage. Then we also run it with this build, which has Grenadier at level 5 to reduce the cooldown of frag grenade for each enemy hit by it. There's also Hot Potato for a little bit of cook time. I don't think the card needs to be run any higher than 3, but it does feel good. Then we have Guerrilla Warfare, which also reduces the cooldown of frag grenade by almost 1 second every second while Hustle is active. So this allows you to get even more uptime on the frag grenade. Then our filler cards are Compensator for a little bit of recoil reduction, and Fire in the Hole so we can actually generate our ammo back. So I can shoot, and then throw a grenade, and boom, I have my ammo back. And then shoot, and then throw a grenade, and boom, don't have to reload, and I can kill 3 people just like that, and then I can run around a little bit, and there's another grenade. Still haven't needed to reload, by the way. There's another grenade, boom. And it's very fun, and the other strength of this build is that you can buy morale boosts, and you can actually spam your ult quite efficiently. Because with the extra uptime on your grenades, and also generally just the fact you're hitting more people with your grenades because of shrapnel, you're able to do more damage and thus build more ultimate charge. And the other great thing about it is it ignores armor plating. Armor plating is still super popular, and it works against weapon damage, but not against ability damage. Frag grenade is an ability, so that's a reliable 750 burst every time, unless they have some other form of damage reduction, or they are a weirdo and buy arcane warding. So it's very fun. Yeah, it's not the most hyper-competitive Viktor build in the world, but I think it's a very fun playstyle for this champion, and so that's why I'm showcasing it. On the flip side, there's not much fun to be gleaned from Vivian, a very similar champion to Viktor, but one who somehow manages to be even less inspired than Viktor. And this build is just focused on keeping Vivian alive and also keeping her mobile, because, as you can see, she slows herself when she shoots. That's annoying. So, we can sort of counteract that and gain a permanent 20% movement speed boost otherwise with the card one step ahead, which is very nice for her. Same card as Moldamba's that I showcased earlier that makes him really slippery. It's just a good card to run. Then the other cards are focused on generally having damage reduction and survivability. So while Deflector Shield is active, 32% of damage dealt to you is instead dealt to the shield. This is a form of damage mitigation so that even if the enemies are shooting you, right, they're bypassing the shield, they're shooting you, you can still have a layer of defense. And this is very helpful against blaster champions because they have an easy time shooting at Vivian's feet underneath the shield. Or if you're being flanked, if someone's behind you and you can't turn your shield to face them in time, you'll still have some damage reduction there. And then that pairs as well with Numbed Heart, which increases your max health. And then, yeah, our filler cards are just Nowhere to Hide and then Unchecked Ambition for a little bit of ammo efficiency. And yeah, I mean, it's very comfortable. It's a running and gunning build for Vivian. It helps you shoot better by, you know, moving faster and staying alive so you can do gunning things. She's just a walking gun, that's pretty much about it. There's not much more to say about this character, let's move on. So, I made a whole guide for Vora, and it's an excellent guide with a lot of builds that you should check out. However, I made the guide before one very noteworthy change that has introduced a new meta build for this character. And so I want to show that build here to make up for what my original guide lacked. So this is a damage reduction focused build, taking advantage of the card rework for Unified in Purpose. When I made the guide, this card was trash, and so I told people not to use it, but now, it's really freaking good. 30% damage reduction for 3 seconds after hitting an enemy with Dark Siphon, and Dark Siphon itself has a 6-second cooldown, so you have 50% uptime on 30% damage reduction. Whoa, what the heck? And yeah, we can visualize that by going into third person. So hit Ying, and look at all that damage reduction. But then I can tendril, and I get another form of damage reduction. And then I can throw out the Dark Siphon and get even more damage reduction. And yeah, it's just a very nice cycle. Throw another one again, and then tendril. And yeah, it's a very good cycle. And the cycle will work even better if you do play double tendril, because you'll have an extra tendril for more damage reduction. But it can be used with any talent, and Unyielding Pressure is her best talent, so, you know, generally people tend to run it with that. But yeah, we're getting damage reduction on our tendril from What May Come, which also lasts for 3 seconds. It only scales for 20%, but it's still pretty good in this sort of combo, because you just stack damage reduction and you basically permanently are taking less damage throughout the match as long as you cycle your abilities properly. The rest of the build is focused on cooldown reduction and also a little bit of extra max health to pair with that damage reduction. So in general, it's a very tanky build for Vora. I have a lot of other builds that are focused on self-sustain by health regeneration or generally more cooldown-oriented builds. This is a damage reduction-oriented build with the new card, and the new card is phenomenal. If you don't want to go all the way into a full damage reduction build, you could drop What May Come for increased health regeneration or cooldown reduction or whatever you want. But yeah, this card is pretty scary, pretty strong, and you should probably be using it. Speaking of strong damage reduction cards, let's show you one of the reasons why Willo is meta. She's meta because of this new passive she has. She's meta because of Blast Flower giving incredible damage output, and she's also meta because of this build. This build has Sprightly for 20% damage reduction for 3 seconds after activating Flutter. Very good for this champion because she has a reasonably sized hitbox. Yeah, she might seem small, but she's still pretty easy to hit, especially by hit scans that are trying to track her while she's flying through the sky, so this mitigates the effect that they have on her. And also, she has a pretty sizable health pool for someone so small. So she has default 2,200 hit points, and then we are increasing that to 2,400 with the card Flora. And then we also have Just Believe for cooldown reduction after getting an elimination, which is very nice. It allows her to spam more seedlings and more dead zones like this. Throw all that stuff out, throw that down, boom, and I'm already on track towards getting another seedling. Just like that, got my dead zone back. Look at that, 100% uptime on the dead zone just for me killing things? Well, it won't usually be that good in a real match, but the point still stands. You get a lot of uptime on your abilities, and that also translates into uptime on your damage reduction, just like we showcased with Tyra. Boom, kill her, and now I can Flutter again. Absolutely fantastic. Why don't you take a second, read the title of the build? Yeah, this is, I'm sure there will be Yagorath mains in the comments waiting to correct me, and you should probably heed their advice before heeding mine. Honestly, though, I've heard quite a lot of opinions on how to build Yag that say different things, so I'm just gonna go with what I think is best, which is a build that looks like this, and, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But we have Towering Presence at level 5 to increase the health of your ultimate health pool by 1,000, which makes it much more likely that you will be able to eat somebody, especially if you don't have the option to wall abuse, which is a tactic that Yagorath can use, whereby she basically sits behind a skinny wall, ults somebody past the wall, and uses the wall as cover. So it's a very nefarious tactic, and one that might make Towering Barrier or a Towering Presence unnecessary, but I just like using it anyways. Then I have End of an Era for a little bit of extra damage reduction effect of Hardening, so that I can tank things even more powerfully. Then I also have Dreadful Compact to reduce the cooldown of Hardening after hitting an enemy with Piercing Quills, so I can get that back online sooner. Then I have Ancient Wounds to generate Acid after hitting an enemy with Piercing Quills, so I can just sit here, and I can spam, spam, spam all day long. Hooray! Oh, I ran out of Piercing Quills. Oh, no. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. But yeah, it's generally pretty nice. And, yeah. I'm not going to say much more because I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert with this character. Just listen to the Yag mains who comment down below. Not going to name names, but I saw someone playing Life Exchange without the card Brittle. And their cooldown didn't look like this. They didn't have a nice, fast cooldown on it. Instead, they had a cooldown that was like, what, more than 4 seconds long? Is that what the cooldown is without this card? Yeah, it was pretty bad, needless to say. So never, ever, ever, ever let me catch you running a build for Life Exchange that does not have Brittle in it. It is, needless to say, really frickin' important. Look at the difference. I'm just going to put a random card in there at level 5 instead. And, yeah, look at the cooldown on Fernando now. Oh, 4.5 second cooldown? Oh, no. Use Brittle 5 for the love of Azan. Oh my gosh. Anyways, next up in the build, we have Carry On and Spring Bloom, which both help with the uptime of your illusions. Carry On helps you to have more illusions out on the field at once. Without this card, it's much harder to have 3 illusions consistently out on the field, healing your allies. Put that one down, and let's wait for the next illusion. I think it might expire, though, without Chronos. Yeah, but with Chronos, if I just lock that in real quick, you can see how much easier it is to have 3 illusions on the field. Boom. And then 4 seconds later, put the third one down, and yeah, we can have 3 illusions going pretty much constantly, which is great for our healing output. And then also we have Spring Bloom, so when an illusion dies to an enemy, we will get even more cooldown reduction. Because oftentimes, your illusions will be shot at. Sometimes you actively use them to body block things, other times they just happen to get in the way of the enemy's bullets. But either way, you want to make sure that when an illusion goes down, you have one ready to replace it. And then the rest of the build just has a little bit more cooldown reduction. We have Rewind to spawn an illusion when you swap to the spot of a dead illusion. So I can teleport over here, and then teleport, and I can summon a bunch of illusions like that. So that is very helpful. And then also, Encouragement at level 1 just gives a little bit of cooldown reduction after getting an elimination. So, with Chronos 3, this is going to be hard to demonstrate. Okay, heal Fernando, shoot, and then I can get my heal back ready to go, because you notice with Chronos, I basically have a 1-second cooldown. So if someone gets an assist, I can back-to-back hit him with multiple procs of 700 healing. It's nice. It's pretty solid for a level 1 filler once you have that Chronos ramped up. And last but not least, we have Zhin. Now, in my last video, I promised I'd show you this very silly thing that Zhin's able to do. This is not a meta build, but it is so freaking fun when you get the right circumstance to play it. This is the Spin to Win build. It uses Wildfire, which is more like a talent than any of Zhin's actual talents, because it actually gives Zhin a unique playstyle. Go figure. This reduces the cooldown of Whirl by 2.5 seconds for each enemy it hits. So if you hit 2 enemies like that, you have less than 2-second cooldown on your Whirl. And if you hit 3 people, well, by golly, you get instant reset. And then if you lock in Chronos, which I'm not able to do. Let me reset the shooting range. Okay, if you lock in Chronos 3, then all you need is to hit 2 people to get that instant reset. And then if you hit 1, it's basically a 2-second cooldown. So yeah, hit the 2 people just like that, and boom, look at that. You were able to spam Whirl like there's no tomorrow. And then we also have Blade Dancer to increase the travel distance of Whirl so that you have an easier time hitting multiple people at once. Longer travel distance means you can hit those people who are far away, just like that. And then, as our filler cards, we have cards that are also focused on reducing the cooldown of Whirl when I fail to hit an enemy, because you will eventually fail to hit an enemy, or you'll only hit 1 enemy instead of hitting 2. And so, you can reduce the cooldown of Whirl after using Willo by 2 seconds, and reduce the cooldown of Whirl by 2 seconds after hitting an enemy with counter with these 2 cards at level 2. And then finally, we have a little bit of extra health, because, yeah, you are going to be up close and personal with these guys, and so a little bit of health ensures that you will stay alive during the trickiest of situations. But yeah, we can Willo, and then bam. And you notice I actually didn't even need the card with that particular use of Willo. But if I just Whirl and then I don't hit anybody, that's where the card comes in handy, because now when I'm done with Willo, I have my Whirl back, and we can get back to slashing. So that, I think, generally is pretty nice, and it also helps even more before you have a chance to ramp up Chronos. But yeah, it's a really fun build, even if it's not, you know, meta. There are more meta builds than this for Zhin, but I think even the most serious of Zhin mains will agree, this build is a heck of a lot of fun to play. So, yeah, I had to showcase it because it's just too cool. But yeah, with all that being said, make sure to drop a like on this video if you found it to be helpful, if you enjoyed the builds I showcased in here. And again, just as one last reminder, these builds, not all of them are necessarily like hard meta, but they're all at the very least viable, and they all showcase a playstyle that can be particularly fun. And that's kind of the point of the video, to show you playstyles that maybe you didn't think about before, or give you just some build ideas so you can, yeah, craft your own builds and make something truly great. So yeah, also subscribe to the video for more guides coming from me. I, of course, have a link to many of the guides listed in the description, like the Vora guide I talked about earlier, and also the Paladins Beginner's Guide playlist. And also, if you want to support the channel directly and keep me doing what I'm doing, keep the lights on over here at the AndrewChicken Studios. Oh, I'm stuck! Then, yeah, please consider either joining the memberships program linked down below, or going over to the Nexus and buying crystals. If you were planning on buying crystals anyways, you can do it there, and a portion of the proceeds go directly to supporting the channel in the process. So that's another great thing you can do that I would appreciate a lot. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.